This is Chris from Texas Toast Guitars. Today we're going to talk about paint. Specifically, we're going to talk about modern paint versus old school lacquer, nitro and acrylic lacquer. I think the reason people want nitrocellulose, it's a buzzword, and it's the product that they used to use, and everybody's chasing classic sounds and classic guitars. So that's why you would want nitrocellulose. I can think of lots of disadvantages using nitrocellulose lacquer. The only advantage I can think of is that, and I think it's a disadvantage, is that it deteriorates quickly, almost on its own. So if you're into relic guitars and things that are new, that look old, nitrocellulose does that almost on its own. In the late 50s, early 60s, they started using acrylic lacquer, and that was a huge upgrade for the automotive industry, so much so that a lot of cars started touting the fact that they painted their cars with acrylic lacquer. That's how much better it was than the previous versions. No, nitrocellulose lacquer does not breathe. It falls apart and it breaks off. If that counts as breathing, then... But no, it doesn't. If you sprayed a piece of metal with nitrocellulose lacquer and set it outside in the rain, that piece of metal would not get rusty because that paint is an impermeable barrier. Some of the questions that we've gotten recently are, how many coats do you use of the base? How many coats of this? How many coats of that? The text sheets on most of the paints will actually tell you it'll tell you almost anything that you need to know about the paint. This stuff will probably say 3 coats or to cover. So if I shot 2 coats and it looked good, I could stay with 2 coats. We'll probably put 3 coats on this. Fairly light because it's metallic. You don't want to end up with any stripes. You want a fairly wide pattern, and you want it to go on kind of dry, not wet and saggy. Okay, so today our project is this double neck Mustang guitar that has a fabric top and binding. It's got cream binding, so we masked off the binding and we masked off the top, and now we're going to shoot the sides and the back metallic copper, for lack of a better name.
Alright, so that's coat 1.
Okay, so here's the finished body. This took about 2.5 coats of paint. I put one fairly heavy coat on that you saw, and then I came back 2 or 3 minutes later and I put a second fairly heavy coat on it, and then the third coat I did fairly light because that's where I wanted to make sure that the metallic was all even and nice. That's just, you know, spray technique and me being weird about stuff. So this whole body took right at 3 ounces of paint, which is very little paint. If we were shooting lacquer, this would have probably taken 5 or 6 coats at least, maybe 7 coats to make it look this good. And a lot more paint, probably 6 or 7 ounces. So from the moment I started painting this till now, took approximately 15 minutes, and that included the time to clean the gun. I recently read a thread online where a guy talked about how it takes him 20 minutes to clean his gun every time, and he must really like cleaning spray guns because if it takes me more than 5 minutes to clean a gun, that's too long. There's just not that much going on with them. It's super easy to do if you know how to do it. If you want to know how to clean guns, how we clean guns, there's a link below. Go watch that video. So like I said, this was 15 minutes of spray time, 5 minutes in between coats, if that, maybe a couple of minutes. I check it with my finger to make sure that it's dry. As long as it's not stringy, you're good. This paint dries pretty fast. I don't touch the paint. I don't do anything to it in between coats. I spray it, I walk out of the room, I come back in 3 to 5 minutes, I spray another coat. I can't stress this enough. I read lots of forums, I see lots of things. Stop messing with the paint between coats. Do really good prep work on this one. When we prepped it, we sanded the sealer 220, 320, and then Scotch-Brighted it with a really fine gray Scotch-Brite, which equals about 600. That's as far as we went. You don't need to sand sealer coats back to 800 or 1000. Anything above 600, you're starting to polish things. You're not actually abrading them anymore. And the paint will cover all of anything that's left over from 600 if you do the 600 properly. And that means you have to get each previous grits, scratches out. So the next step on this guitar is we're going to strip all the masking off, strip the binding tape off. You have to let this paint cure for about 45 minutes before you can do that. We're going to let it cure for probably an hour while we get something to eat. And then we'll come back and do clear. That's a video for next time. This is Chris from Texas Toast, reminding you, if you're so smart, do it yourself. We learned how to paint guitars. You can too. Thanks for watching.